Okay, I just gotta say it. Time does not heal wounds. It can take the edge off a little bit, but time does not heal wounds. The truth does. The truth heals wounds. Welcome to day 27 of 31 days of Christmas wonder. So many of us have been broken by our past, and we're walking around today oppressed by feelings of shame and guilt. And the church is not exempt from this. There are so many walking wounded in the church. And I think that's because we don't admit or acknowledge that we need to be healed. You see, we think that just because we're a Christian that we should be all good, and so we pretend that we are when we're not. In order to experience the healer, we must admit that we need the healer. So many of us have just gaping wounds. Maybe you're a child and you were hurt in your childhood by someone that you should have been able to trust and that should have protected you, but they didn't. They hurt you, and you've never told anyone about it, and you carry that secret. And as you know, we're only as sick as our secrets. Maybe you're a person that hurt someone. Maybe you've been through divorce and it's hurt your children and other important relationships. Maybe you had an affair on your boyfriend or girlfriend and done damage that you cannot take back. Maybe you've made bad financial decisions that have affected people you love. Maybe you missed a great opportunity because you were afraid and you were indecisive. Maybe there's been addiction that's ravaged important relationships. Maybe it's all of the above. But I was thinking this morning as I was reading in Luke chapter 4 about what Jesus has to say about this. And I want to read it to you in just a moment. But I want to tell you, especially if you're a believer in Jesus, it's so important that we don't just believe in Jesus, but that we believe Jesus when he tells us it's the truth that sets us free. And many of us in the church have not learned how to apply the truth to our heart and to our lives. We can tell other people about it, but we don't live it ourselves. We don't take the time to be a mess. We don't allow Jesus to get into those dark places. And I can relate to this. As I was a new believer, Jesus did a tremendous amount of healing in me. And he had me on that operating table and he was doing some major heart surgery. And then I jumped up off that table and said, "I'm good, Jesus." And I ran, I started doing my church stuff. But he wasn't done yet. There was more healing and I had to go back to that table. And maybe you're someone who needs to get back to that table and let the great physician, the healer, do his work, do his heart surgery on your heart. Isaiah 61 is one of my favorite passages. It's a very important life verse to me. It's also a verse for our ministry, but here Jesus quotes it in Luke chapter 4. It says, "The Spirit of the Lord is on me because he has anointed me to proclaim good news to the poor. He has sent me to proclaim freedom for the prisoners and recovery of sight for the blind, to set the oppressed free, to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor." So this is what Jesus has to say to the broken and to the oppressed. He says there's freedom. There's triumph after tragedy. There's triumph after tragedy. But we have to allow Jesus, the light of Jesus, to flood the dark of our heart, the pain of our past. We have to allow him into those places. You see, when light comes, darkness has to flee. It has no choice. And I just really feel encouraged that the Lord is calling us to allow him in 2024, that we don't do the same old, but that we allow him to actually heal our hearts. You see, because healed people heal people, and broken people break people. So if we want to be healers, if we want to be restorers of what was broken, if we want to be rebuilders, if we want to be pioneers, if we want to be culture changers, then it begins in our own heart first. And I love here how it says that he brings recovery of sight to the blind, because I know that, he actually does heal actual blind eyes, but also metaphorically speaking, when we're in pain, we don't see right. We don't see God right. We don't see ourselves right. We don't see others right. We're blind. We have a blind spot. And so Jesus wants to heal our heart so we can have healed eyes to see like he sees. He wants to recover our sight, our spiritual sight. He wants us to see him clearly. He wants us to see ourselves clearly, who we are in him. He wants us to see who others could be in him if they knew the gospel, if they were transformed by the gospel. We have so much work to do. We have the kingdom to build with Jesus. By the power of his word, by the power of his Holy Spirit living in us, we have work to do. And it's time to step up. It's time to get honest. It's time to get real. It's time to get vulnerable. It's time to get focused on Jesus the healer and get serious about our own healing so we can go out healed of the Lord and make an impact in this world. So will you join me in 2024 and allow Jesus to truly be your healer? Will you allow him to teach you how to apply the truth to your past, present, and future? And Jesus is the truth, the way, and the life.